So, good evening everyone. We are Group 5 and today we will discuss about performance. But before that, we will have a short icebreaker. Yung icebreaker na to, you have to solve the problems, math problem siya. And sa mechanics na iba na siya kasi nag-online tayo. Ang mechanics na lang po is kung sino yung dalawang student na mauuna mag-comment ng sagot sa tatlong problem na to, dapat po tatlo. If dalawa lang, hindi ka pwede. Or isa lang, hindi ka pwede. Dapat tatlong sagot sa tatlong tanong na to. Kung sino ang first two students. So, titignan lang namin sa comment kung sino yung mabibigyan namin ng +5. So, ang first problem is, you are organizing a youth activity in your community. You bought 96 pieces of snacks for everyone to share. There are 4 tables at the event and you decided to distribute the snacks equally among the table. Once the snacks are distributed, each table will share the snacks equally among the 8 people seated at it. How many snacks will each person receive? So, comment na lang, i-note nyo na muna yung mga sagot nyo, then i-keep nyo, then ko-comment nyo later kapag sa next question, and sa third question is na sagutan nyo na din. So, next question is, you are helping to organize a community outreach program in your barangay. You need to distribute food packs to 120 family. Each food packs costs $3.50 and the local government is contributing $20,000 to help with the cost. How much more money do you need to cover the total cost? So, note yun na lang din. Kunyari, naisagot na sa first question, note. Second question, etong nag-organize ka ng outreach program and magkano yung kakailanganin mong pera para ma-cover pa yung total cost. Then, the third question is, you and your date decided to go out for a nice dinner and movie. The dinner cost $1,200 for 2 people, and the movie tickets cost $3.50 each. After the movie, you bought stuff for dessert, which costs $400 for both of you. If you want to split the cost evenly, how much should each person pay? So, ayan, makukomplete nyo na yung tatlong sagot sa tanong. So, comment nyo na agad after this icebreaker. Pause nyo muna, then comment yung sagot nyo. So, malay nyo kayo unang nagwa-watch ng video na to. And you will receive +5 points kapag complete ang 3 comments and complete ang 3 answers sa mga problem na yun. So, yun lang. Thank you so much. Good day, everyone. And we are Group 5. And today we will discuss performance. So, we will proceed na po sa proper discussion ng performance. So, this is the group members. Social facilitation. We will discuss about social facilitation. So, in short, social facilitation po is performing with the presence of other people. So, performance in the presence of others. Norman Triplett found that being in the presence of others enhance performances, as seen in cyclists benefiting from competition and children performing better and first during a real turning task. So, sa study ni Norman Triplett, na-discover niya na pag nag-work ka with the presence of other people, na-enhance nito ang performance mo. Like, for example, sa cyclist, nasa competition siya. Kapag may nakita siyang mas nauuna sa kanya, mas na-motivate siya na mas bilisan niya pa. Kasi nga, nasa competition sila, nag-race sila, and nakakita din sa study na to na while practicing, si cyclist, mas mabagal siya kaysa nung nasa mismong competition na siya. So, nai-increase yung performance niya. And also dito sa children, performing better in pairs during a real turning task. So, nakita din naman dito sa study nila, yung children daw, kapag may kasama siya, with pair siya gumawa ng task, is nag-i-increase din yung performance niya than being alone. Alone niya lang ginagawa yung task na yun. Next is social facilitation. So, social facilitation, an improvement in task performance that occurs when people work in the presence of other people. So, in short, social facilitation, nag-i-increase yung performance mo kapag mayroong ibang tao sa paligid mo or may kasama kang gumawa ng isang task. Co-action, audiences, and inconsistency. Si co-action, it is the situation where people work alongside others on similar tasks without directly interacting. For example, individuals taking separate holds or taking a test in a class. So, si co-action, ginagawa nyo ang similar task pero hindi kayo nag-i-interact. So, an example nga dito, individuals digging separate holes. So, di ba kapag nagdidig ka or nagbuhukay ka ng something, hindi mo naman kailangan makipag-interact pa doon sa isang nagbuhukay rin, di ba? Kasi, makakapag-perform kayo, magagawa mo yung task mo, kahit hindi kayo makipag-interact. Same with taking a test in a class. Masasagutan mo yung test kahit hindi ka naman makipag-interact doon sa katabi mo kasi bawal din naman yun, di ba? So, next is audiences. Describe how individuals perform tasks better when being observed by others. For instances, in my month's 1904 study, men lifted heavier weights when watched, suggesting that the presence of spectators can increase efforts and performance through increased arousal or a desire to impress. So, sa audiences naman, pag may nag-observe sa'yo, mas nag-i-increase yung performance mo. Kasi, sabi nga dito, can increase effort and performance kasi nag-i-increase din yung arousal saka yung desire to impress. Like, nga sa study ni Maimons, 1904, yung mga lalaking nagbubuhat ng weights, kaya nila magbuhat ng mas mabigat na weights kapag may nanonood sa kanila. Okay, next is inconsistencies. Not all studies support the idea that the presence of others always improves performance. Lloyd Alport's 1920s research showed that social facilitation may depend on task difficulty or individual factors, highlighting that the mere presence of others can sometimes hinder performance on complex or unfamiliar tasks. So, sabi nga, di ba, nai-increase yung performance niya kapag may audience, kapag may co-action, kapag may kasama kang gumawa ng same action. Pero sinasabi sa study ni Lloyd Alport na may inconsistency sa mga ito. Like, sometimes, pwede siya makapag-hinder pa ng performance mo, lalo na kapag ang pinoperform mong task is unfamiliar ka. So, inconsistency, hindi siya laging okay na may nanonood sa'yo. Hindi din laging okay na may kasama kang gumawa ng task na yun. Next is Sajong's resolution. So, meron two responses, the dominant responses saka si non-dominant responses. Ang sinasabi kay dominant responses, the well-learned or instinctual behavior, lifting weights or eating rapidly, which are enhanced with the presence of the others. So, sinasabi ni dominant responses na yung mga tasks na well-learned saka instinctual, like yung eating nga, diba? Hindi naman natin need ng ganun ng conscious awareness natin pag ginagawa natin ng mga ganito kasi instructional behavior nga siya. Ito daw yung may increase na may possibility na ma-increase yung performance kapag may presence ng others. Ayun ang tawag sa dominant responses. Pag dominant response, instinctual behavior na nakakapag-increase ng performance kapag may presence ng ibang tao. Si non-dominant responses naman, the less practice or complex action, solving difficult math problems, where the presence of others can hinder performance. So, si non-dominant responses, ito naman yung mga mahihirap na task na need talaga natin ng conscious attention, kailangan talaga natin ibigay yung attention natin sa bagay na yun. And kapag may presence ng others, pwede niya mahinder yung performance natin kasi pwede tayong ma-distract sa ibang tao or may other factor pa na makaka-apekto sa behavior natin or sa the way we solve the problem. So, kanina, di ba, sa icebreaker, kung may mga nagsagot talaga dyan, sa tingin nyo ba kapag mas madaming nakapaligid sa inyo or nag-on-site class tayo, mas masosolve nyo ba yung problem na yun? Or okay na, or mas kaya nyo isolve yun na mag-isa kayo, nandito tayo sa online na pinapanood nyo yung video. So, anong tingin nyo kung ano masamang sa inyo, dominant responses mo or non-dominant responses? Kung ano yung nag-e-effect sa inyo or ano yung factor na nakaka-affect sa performance nyo. So, next is presence of others, dominant responses increase and non-dominant responses decrease. So, sa presence of others nga, si dominant responses nag-i-increase and si non-dominant responses ay nag-i-decrease. Si task requires dominant responses, social facilitation, performance gain. Si task requires non-dominant responses, social inhibition, performance loss. So, ito yung pinaka-chart niya para makita nyo yung summarization nun ng Sanjog's theory of social facilitation. So, next is speed, quantity, and quality. Speed, the presence of others can increase the speed of task performance, especially for simple and familiar activities. For example, individuals write quicker with their dominant hand. So, sa speed daw, yung present ng others is nakaka-increase ng speed sa pag-perform ng task. Especially, kapag yung mga task is simple and familiar activity lang. Ano ba yung mga simple and familiar activity? Like yung eating nga, like watching film, ganon. For example, dito din, ang example naman niya, individual write quicker with dominant hand. Like, kasi may non-dominant and dominant responses. So, sa speed, nakaka-apekto yung social facilitation. Next is quantity. When tasks emphasize output over accuracy, social facilitation often leads to higher quantity. For instance, since human and animals alike tend to produce more action or outputs in the presence of others, such as worker, digging faster, or horse running more quickly. So, pag sinabing quantity naman, na-emphasize niya ang wait lang. 1, 2, 3, 842. Cut ko muna. When tasks emphasize output over accuracy, social facilitation often leads to higher quantity. So, kapag mina-emphasize naman yung output, kung ano yung gano'ng kadami magagawa sa task na yon over accuracy, sinasabi na social facilitation is nagpo-produce ng higher quantity. Kasi nasasacrifice yung accuracy ng ginagawa mo. Pero, madami ka nagagawa. Quantity over quality. Like dito sa example, for instances, human and animals alike tend to produce more action or output in the presence of others, such as digging faster, worker digger faster, or horse running more quickly. Quantity over quality. Mas madami nagagawa, pero hindi ganun ka-accurate. Next is quality. The quality of performance can decline when others are present, especially for complex or unfamiliar tasks. So, si quality naman, nadidecrease niya performance kapag may presence ng others. Kasi, lalo na especially sa quality, mas pinaprioritize yung accuracy ng task, ng pag-perform ng task. So, next is, why does facilitation occur? Drive comprehension. Compresence is the heightened state of alertness and arousal triggered with the presence of others, as it prepares individuals to respond to potential social cues or challenges. Describe can improve performance on simple tasks but hinder it on complex ones. So, si compresence, yun yung mataas na state ng alertness and arousal kapag may presence ng ibang tao. Dahil yung individual na to is lagi siyang ready na mag-respond sa mga social cues or mga nangyayari sa paligid niya. So, sabi dito, yung drive compresence na to or the drive comprehension na may improve nito yung mga simple tasks but makakahinder siya sa complex ones. For example, sa mga complex tasks like kunyari for solving math problem. Then, di-distract ka kasi iniintay mo yung mga cues sa paligid mo kung may matatapos na ba sa'yo, may mauna ba sa'yo sagot. So, hindi na i-improve yung performance mo, pero nahihinder niya pa na mag-perform well ka sa isang task. Next is si drive theory. It shows that the mere presence of others, even without interaction or evaluation, increases arousal. This enhances performance on simple tasks but hinders it on complex ones, as confirmed by study with blindfolded, non-communicating observers. So, sinasabi naman dito sa drive theory na kahit yung presence lang ng isang tao, kahit hindi ka nakikipag-interact or hindi ka ina-evaluate, is na-increase yung arousal mo. So, nakakapag-enhance din siya sa performance kapag simple task, pero nahihinder niya din sa mga complex ones, sa mga mahihirap na task. So, Na-confirm to sa study ng blindfolded and non-communicating observers. Sa blindfolded, like, you were doing the task, hindi mo alam kung ano nangyari sa paligid mo, pero alam mong may tao doon. That's why naapektuhan yung behavior mo. Next is physiological process. Sanjok's drive theory suggests that the presence of others trigger physiological arousal, with its intensity and nature varying by task difficulty and observer's type. Research by Blaskovich et al. Found that easy tasks elicit a challenge response, while hard tasks provoke threat response. So, sinasabi na sa Sanjok's drive theory nga na presence ng others is trigger pa rin ng arousal. Yung arousal na yun is physiological arousal. So, it's still vary kung gaano kahirap mong task ko or anong type ng observer yung tao na yon. So, sa research ni Blaskovich, nakita nila na yung mga mahihirap na task ay mga easy task is nag-elicit ng challenge response. Like, kapag madali na yung task na yun, mas challenge kang gawin yun. Pero yung mga hard task provoke threat response. So, ano ba yung mga hard task? Kunyari, ngayong finals, madami tayong activity. Kunyari, may isa tayong activity na sobrang hirap. Imbes na ma-challenge kang gawin yung task na yon, dahil for you, mahirap yung task na yon, may stress ka lang and pwede maka-apekto siya sa performance mo. Next is neurological process. Social neuroscientists suggest that the social brain, designed to monitor and respond to others, drives social facilitation. This brain activation enhances performance on simple tasks by engaging attentional and reward system, but hinders performance on complex tasks by overloading cognitive processes. So, sa study nga ni yung mga social neuropsychologists, sinuggest nila na meron yung brain, may nakadesign siya ng social brain. Na ayun, yung brain na yun, nag-respond siya sa social facilitation. Yung social facilitation, yung presence ng ibang tao. So, ayun nga, yung presence ng ibang tao, nag-i-increase yung performance, pero sa simple task. Dahil, nag-i-engage sila sa attentional and reward system. Pero, still, nahihinder nito yung mga performance natin, lalo na kapag mahirap yung task. So, in short, sinasabi lang ng buong, ng study nito na drive theory, na social facilitation. Social facilitation, nai-increase niya yung, performance kapag may presence ng others, lalo na pag madali yung task. Pero pag complex, nahihinder niya yung performance ng isang tao. Lalo na, it will cause overloading cognitive processes din, sabi din sa study, sabi din ng mga social neuroscientists. A study by Ito et al. 2011 found that the presence of others activates the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, a brain area linked to social cognition, which inhibits performance on complex tasks but not on a simple task. The findings suggest that the brain, rather than physiological factors like heart rate or blood pressure, is primarily responsible for the overreaction to social presence. So, nakita din sa study ni Ito et al. 2011 na yung presence ng other is na-activate niya yung dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Yun yung brain area siya na connected siya sa social cognition. So, sinasabi din ito na pag mga complex yung task, ini-inhibit nito yung mga performance, but not on the simple ones. So, sinabi lang din, yun kanina lang din na kapag may presence ng isang tao, kapag complex yung task, nahihinder niya yung performance, ini-inhibit ka yung performance. Kapag simple ones naman is na-increase kapag may kasamang ibang tao. So, rather than physiological factors like heart rate or blood pressure, it is primarily responsible for the overreaction and social presence. Next is motivational process. It highlights how being observed by someone, especially a respective or authoritative figure, can increase focus and effort. For instance, skills, despite being an expert pilot, likely felt heightened motivation to perform well, knowing that Captain Sully was closely observing his action during their first flight together. So, yung story ni Sully, pati ni pilot, ni Captain Sully, pati ng pilot kasi they are kailangan nilang mag-emergency landing kasi may nagka-problem sa plane. So si Skills pilot siya during that time, and na-motivate siya na gawin ng maayos kasi alam niya na si Captain Sully is nanonood sa kanya at first flight nila together yun. So authoritative si Captain Sully, then si Skills is experienced pilot. So dahil sa presence si Captain Sully na gawa ng solusyon ni Skills o ni pilot na mag-landfall ng kahit mahirap for him kasi he was motivated na mag-perform well kasi alam niya na nanonood si Captain Sully. Next is evaluation apprehension theory, an analysis of performance gain in groups, arguing that individuals working in the presence of others experience a general concern on how these others are evaluating them, and that this apprehension facilitates their performance on simple, well-learned tasks. So, dahil nga alam nila na they were evaluated, mag-perform sila ng mas maayos. Kahit na yung mga tasks nila ayos, madali, and well-learned tasks yun. Next is self-presentation theory, an analysis of performance gains in group, assuming that social facilitation is caused by individuals striving to make a good impression when they work in the presence of others. So, sa self-presentation theory naman, ipipresent mo na maayos yung sarili mo kasi kailangan mo, gusto mo makakuha ng good impression sa ibang tao, sa ibang tao nakapaligid sa'yo, sa presence ng ibang tao nanonood sa'yo. Next is attentional processes. It suggests that the presence of others can divide the person's attention between the task and the audience. This split attention can reduce task performance as an individual may become more self-aware and focus on how they are being perceived rather than on completing the task effectively. So, sa attentional processes, nahati yung attention ng isang tao sa audience sa task na ginagawa niya. So, yung split ng attention na to is makaka-apekto sa behavior niya na hindi na siya ganun makakapag-perform ng mas maayos kasi nga pwede siyang distraction na. So, si distraction conflict theory naman, an analysis of performance gain in group, assuming that when others are present, attention is divided between the other people and the task. This attentional conflict is motivation as it facilitates performance on simple, well-learned tasks. So, si distraction conflict theory, kapag madadali yung task, kahit na may hati yung attention nila, still na-increase yung motivation nila. Next is cognitive processes. It suggests that the high-stress situation, like Sully emergency landing, the brain narrows focus to prioritize the most viable options, filtering out less feasible ones. Stress can influence decision-making by limiting the amount of information processed and guiding attention toward the most critical choices, ensuring a quicker and more effective response. Si cognitive process, pinifilter out mo na yung mga hindi ganun kailangan na information. Kung ano na yung kailangan mo information during that time, na kailangan mo ma-solve, ayun lang yung gagamitin mo. Like, even kahit may presence ng ibang tao. So, next is Stephen Harkin's mirror effort model suggests that when we believe we are being evaluated, we exert more effort, which affects how we process information. This increased effort improves performance on tasks where easily accessible, relevant information is key. However, if irrelevant information dominates our focus, it can hinder performance, especially on complex tasks. So, kapag sa tingin nga natin na we are being evaluated, that we are being watched, we exert more effort. Kasi we try to impress other people, we try to have good impression sa mga taong nanonood sa atin. So next is personality processes. It refers to how an individual treats, influence their responses in different situations. In Sully's case, his ability to remain calm and perform under pressure during the emergency landing and later handle the public attention and accolades suggest that his personality traits such as composure and confidence play a key role in how he managed the aftermath of the crash. So, sa personality process, sabi na may epekto yung individual traits natin on how we respond sa different situation. Kapag like the Sully's case nga, na si pilot na remain calm lang siya, na nakakapag-perform siya under the pressure as nakaland siya ng effectively or mas safe sa emergency landing. So, yung response natin depende pa rin sa traits ng individual. Social orientation theory, an analysis of performance gains in groups suggesting individual differences in social orientation. The tendency to approach social situation apprehensively or with enthusiasm predicts when social facilitation will occur. So, an analysis of sabi dito na si social orientation theory na yung individual naman, yung difference natin in social orientation is nakaka-apekto din kung how we predict or how we are affected by social facilitation. Conclusion and application, prejudice and social facilitation. Prejudice is deeply ingrained negative attitudes about a member of the other group. Such prejudice as racism and sexism are increasingly recognized as unfair and socially inappropriate. So individuals who are prejudiced often try to keep their prejudices to themselves to avoid being labeled racist or sexist. So, si prejudice, may mga notion, may mga belief na tayo sa isang tao na yon na we try to keep na lang sa sarili natin para maiwasan natin na matawag na racism or sexism, katulad sa example na to. The presence of other may work to facilitate prejudice rather than keep it checked. So, dahil nga may presence ng others, yung mga prejudice natin sa ibang tao, kinikip na natin sa sarili kasi lalo na if we know na negative naman yung prejudice natin na yun. Eating in groups, the presence of other people facilitates one of the most dominant of basic responses in humans eating. Most people report that they prefer to eat with others rather than dine alone. So, sabi dito sa eating in group na kapag may kasama ka doon kumain, mas mataas, mas madaming ang nakakain mo. So, sabi dito sa report nila na most people is prefer nila na kumain with other people kesa ng mag-isa. Electronic Performance Monitoring or EPM, the use of information technology such as computer, network, or track, analyze and report information about workers' performance. So, si EPM, natatrack niya kung paano mag-perform ng isang tao, na analyze nila yung performance ng isang worker. This is evidence sa industrial organizational, di ba? Nagkayong example din to sa atin na dahil nga they were tracked, nag-perform sila na mas maayos. Social facilitation in education settings, much can be learned when one is alone, but many learning activities are group activities. Students can read and study in isolation, but more frequently, a class of learners is assembled in one place with the hope that learning will occur en masse. So, sinasabi sa social facilitation, sa educational settings naman, na kapag nagbabasa ka na mag-isa, mas sinasabi dito na mas okay yon. Pero kapag nagtitake ka ng test, dapat sama-sama kayong lahat. And doon daw, is nag-i-increase yung performance ng isang tao, diba? Kasi with the presence of others, pwede kang maging mas motivated. Sanyok suggests that once students have truly learned that skill, they should perform in the presence of others, as this can enhance their performance. He advises students to study in isolation to avoid distraction. But when it comes time for the exam, they should take it in a public setting. So surrounded by many others, the presence of an audience can then boost their performance provided they have mastered the material well. So, ayun nga, sa jokes na nasuggest din ng mga student is mag-aral in isolation para ma-avoid yung distraction. Pero when taking an exam, dahil na-master mo naman na yung exam, if you really master the exam, makakapag-boost yung performance mo kapag may presence ng ibang tao. So, next reporter po.
Hi, I am Alexis and allow me to discuss social loafing. So first, what is social loafing? Social loafing occurs when individuals exert less effort in a group than they would if they were working alone. This phenomenon argues that people feel less accountable when they are in larger groups. For example, in modern air travel, it consists of various groups. While pilots and flight attendants may perform well, other members such as the ground crew, personnel, or support staff may not always be engaged. This suggests that some teams are not fully committed to maximizing productivity, then leading to inefficiencies. Then the next one is the Ringelmann effect. But first, who is Max Ringelmann? He is a French agricultural engineer and the pioneer in studying group productivity conducted in the early 90s. So he conducted an experiment where he observed how individuals and groups performed tasks involving participants pulling a rope attached to a gauge. Then his findings show that people perform worse in a group than when they are working alone, resulted to the Ringelmann effect. The Ringelmann effect describes how group productivity decreases as group size increases. For example, a person can pull 85.3 kg alone, but in a group of 7, the total weight pulled in only 390 kg, showing a 24% decrease per person. For instance, in a tug-of-war, if each person in a small team pulls 100 kg, a larger team of 7 won't necessarily pull 7 times the total weight, demonstrating how larger groups perform even less efficiently. Then there are two main reasons for social loafing. First, social loafing happens because of coordination losses, when group members often pull and pause at different times, leading to inefficiencies. Then the second is motivation losses. It happens when individuals may feel less accountable in a larger group, then reducing their effort. For example, in a team project, if one member doesn't communicate their progress or stop contributing when others are working, it leads to coordinational losses. If the team believes one person can handle the task, others may do less effort because of motivation loss. Then Bibb Latané, Kipling Williams, and Stephen Harkin studied the effects of coordination loss and social loafing by having participants cheer as loudly as possible in various group sizes. They used blindfolds and headset to isolate the participants from sensory feedback. The results showed here that while groups made more noise than individuals, they still did not reach their full potential. For instance, individuals shouted at an intensity of 9.22, but in pairs, they only shouted at 66% of their capacity. And in 6 persons, that dropped to 36%. With this study, they found that people cheered more intensely alone than in the groups. This just shows that even though groups of people might seem louder, each individuals contribute less to the overall effort. Then the next one is pseudo groups. It is when participants thought they were shouting in the group but were actually alone. When they thought they were with one other person, they shouted at 82% of their capacity. With 5 others, it dropped to 74%. This just shows that how the perception of group effort can reduce individual contributions, potentially due to social loafing. Now, let's talk about the causes of social loafing. First, it is often caused by identifiability. It is where individuals may feel less accountable when their contributions are anonymous or not visible. Then the next one is evaluation apprehension. When individuals believe they are being evaluated, they tend to work harder. So individuals feel less pressure to perform if they are not being evaluated. For example, in a workplace, if workers feels their individual performance is not being measured, they may not try as hard. However, if they know that their work is being assessed or being evaluated, they're more likely to contribute. Then the next one is free riding. It occurs when individuals contribute less because they believe others will do the work for them. So for example, ito yung mga pabuhat sa team, they call it pabuhat. Then in soccer effect naman is the tendency when people reduce their effort because they fear being judged for working too hard, potentially labeling them as suckers. So they fear that working too hard will make them look like a sucker who is more who is doing more than their fair share. So to reduce social loafing, there are several strategies to consider, including increasing identifiability. If we make individuals' contributions visible, it can encourage accountability and reduce social loafing. We can also minimize free riding or reduce group size, and enhance a sense of indispensability, like making each person feels that their contributions matters. For instance, in a team, we can assign individual roles, monitor their performance, and set clear expectations so that we can reduce social loafing by making it clear that each person's efforts counts. Next is the set clears and challenging goals. This shows that groups with specific and ambitious goals tend to perform better. For example, truck drivers increase their hauling efficiencies from 60% to 94% of the legal limit when given specific goals. If we set a target for a sales team to achieve specific sales goals by a set dates or motivates them to perform at a higher level, then reducing social loafing. The next one is we can increase involvement. We should engage in tasks that reduce social loafing. Individuals with a strong work ethic and competitive spirit are less likely to loaf. It could also with friendly competition that foster a healthy competition motivated them. Social confusion occurs also when some members work harder to make up for others' lack of effort. For example, a team member who takes an extra effort to cover for someone else who isn't contributing can boost overall group effect, but can also lead to burnout if the effort is not distributed equally. But with this, group-based rewards can also help. People would make extra effort and be motivated by these rewards in exchange for their work. Next, we can increase identification with the group. According to social identity theory, when individuals identify strongly with the group, they are more motivated to work hard for the group's success, then reducing social loafing. A strong connection to group goals encourages members to shift from loafing to social laboring, where they exert more effort for the collective. Then the next one is collective effort model. The collective effort model was developed by Carrao and Williams. This model explains that group productivity decreases when members have low expectations of success and don't see the group's goals as important. For example, in academic setting, if a student believes that the school organization's success is unlikely or irrelevant to them personally, they may reduce their effort, leading to decreased productivity and social loafing. There are two main factors of social effort model. First, expectations of success. This explains that motivation is higher when individuals believe that they can achieve the group's goal. It is believing that the group can succeed. Then the next one is the value of the goal. Motivation is also higher when the goal is considered important. This is more likely how important the goal is. For example, a student who believes they can succeed and values the outcome, for example, getting a good grade, they will be more motivated to contribute to a group project than someone who doubts the success or does not care about their grades. However, in group, these factors can be negatively impacted. When people work in a group, they may feel uncertain about their individual contributions, leading to lower expectation and diminished value of the group's goal. So even if they put an effort, they may worry that others won't, making success less likely. Then sometimes the reward for success in a group, like having a good grades, may not feel as fulfilling as with personal achievements. Lastly, Carrao and Williams tested the collective effort model through a meta-analysis of 78 studies and confirmed that social loafing decreases when individuals have high expectations of success and value the group's goal. For example, in a workplace project, if employees believe they can meet the target and understand its significance, they will be more likely to contribute fully. So in summary, fostering group identity must align personal and group goals, motivating members to work harder together and thus minimizing social loafing.
Let's discuss the working in groups. In working in groups, we have the group productivity and social loafing. Groups often experience a decrease in productivity due to the social loafing, but they still tend to outperform individuals. For example, groups in a tug-of-war or taking a multiple-choice test together typically show better performance. So to elaborate this explanation, imagine a group of people pulling a rope in a tug-of-war. If everyone pulls hard, the group will be strong. But if some people don't pull as hard, the group won't be strong. This is called social loafing. It's when people in a group don't put it as much effort as they would if they were working alone. Even though social loafing can happen, groups often still do better than individuals working alone. So let's move on to the next one. Performance in complex tasks. So in performance in work, in complex tasks, tasks requiring collaboration, such as building products or serving passengers, needs effective coordination and organization. Groups can combine the talents of individuals, but achieving high performance depends on how well their actions are coordinated. So in this one, it is how do group tasks that need everyone to work together. Example for this, or the best explanation for this is, think about building a house. It takes many different people with different skills to build a house. The carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and etc. Each person does their part, but they need to work together to build the house. This same idea applies to groups doing other complex tasks, like serving customers in a restaurant or making a movie. Everyone needs to work together and coordinate their efforts to be successful. So that's for the performance and complex tasks. So let's move on to potential productivity versus actual productivity. Steiner's model of 1972 suggests that a group's potential productivity is determined by its resources, which is the talent and effort, but can differ from the actual productivity due to process loss, like lack of coordination or motivation issues. So in this one, it is how well a group do something to compared to how well they actually do it. So the explanation for this, or the best explanation for this, is imagine a group of talented musicians who could create amazing music together. That's their potential productivity. But if they don't practice well or don't communicate well, their actual performance might be much less impressive. This is because things called process losses or process loss. It can happen like poor communication or lack of motivation. So next one is group coordination and effectiveness. Even skilled and motivated individuals may not achieve high group productivity without proper coordination. The success of a group depends on transforming their resources effectively while managing interpersonal challenges. So, in this one, it is like how important it is for groups to work together smoothly. The best explanation for this, or the explanation for this, is even if everyone in a group is good at their job, they won't succeed if they don't work together effectively. Imagine like a basketball team where everyone tries to score points on their own. It's much more effective if they pass the ball and work together to get the best shot. So the next one will be the process model of the group. Okay, the process laws. In process laws, Ivan Steiner of 1972 introduced the concept of process laws, which refers to a decrease in group performance due to factors like coordination problems, ineffective leadership, and faulty groups processes. So these issues prevent the group from reaching its full potential. So in process laws, this model help us understand why group might not do as well as they could. Like yung sinabi ko lang din earlier, potential productivity, it is how good they could be. Process losses, it is the problems like lack of coordination or motivation. And the actual productivity is how good they actually are. So, ayun na yung mga sinabi ko earlier na nandito din naman. So, next one is ito, nasabi ko na to, potential versus actual productivity, which is the actual productivity is calculated as potential productivity minus process losses. Although groups may have great potential due to their combined resources, their actual performance often falls short because they struggle to coordinate effectively. So, potential productivity again is how good they could be, while in the actual productivity is how good they actually are. So, ayun yung difference ng dalawa. So, let's move on to task demands. So, according to Steiner, Steiner emphasized the importance of task demands in determining group performance. He noted that different tasks require different approaches. For example, the teamwork needed for an assembly line differs from that required by pilots flying a jetliner. Successful group performance depends on matching the group's efforts to the specific task demands. So, in task demands, it is how the kind of task affects how a group works together. So, different tasks need different kinds of teamwork. For example, building a car on an assembly line needs everyone to work quickly and efficiently, but flying a plane needs a lot of communication and coordination. So, that's for the task of demands or task demands. Next one will be the divisible task. In divisible task, it is a task that can be broken down into subcomponents that can be assigned to individuals or to subgroups within the group. So, divisible task, it is the task that can be broken down into smaller parts, like what I said earlier. So, let's give an example. Think of a group project in school. The project can be divided into smaller tasks, like research, writing, and editing. Each person can do a different part, and then they put all the parts together. So, that's for the divisible task. Ganun lang siya kasimple. Next one will be the unitary task. This is a task that cannot be performed piecemeal because it does not break down into a subcomponents. So, in unitary task, example for this is, imagine playing a game of basketball. You can just you can just have one person to do the dribbling and another person do the shooting. Everyone needs to work together to play the game. Hindi lang yung basta-basta na yung isa lang yung nagaganito, yung isa lang yung magsushoot, yung isa lang yung gagalaw. Hindi dapat ganun. Kailangan lahat kayo sa unitary task. When I say unitary task, everyone needs to work together para maging maayos yung laro at maitawid ng maayos yung laro at maging mas malinis ito. So, next one will be the maximizing task. It is a task or project that calls for a high rate of production. In maximizing tasks, this is very simple. This is the task where the goal is not to get as much done as possible. Like for example, think of for a factory making toys or a factory making toys. The goal is to make as many toys as possible in a certain amount of time. That is for the maximizing of tasks. So, let's move on to optimizing tasks. In optimizing tasks, it is a task or project that has the best solution and outcome. Thus, the quality of the group's performance can be judged by comparing the product to a quality defining standard. So, optimizing tasks, it is a task where the goal is to do the best possible job, even if it takes longer. So, the explanation for this is imagine a group of artists painting a mural. They want to make the best possible mural, even if it takes a long time to finish. So, that's the example or two optimizing tasks. Lastly, we have the additive task. So, what is additive task? Um, this is both indivisible and maximizing. It is requiring group members to add their individual contributions to the total output. Examples. Example for this, it includes the pulling a rope, editing slides for a presentation, clapping after a concert, or responding to a customer inquiries. So in additive tasks, it is a task where everyone's contribution adds up to the final result. The explanation for this is think of people pulling a rope, like what I said earlier. Each person pulls, and their effort add up to how far the rope is pulled. Other examples include clapping at a concert or responding to a customer inquiries. That's all and thank you. Let's move on to Kuya Raver.
Compensatory tasks. Tasks where a group's output is an average of individual members' contributions, often based on collective estimations or decisions. Group members work individually, and their outputs are averaged to form the final group result. This type of task emphasizes the value of combining different perspectives. Here, sinasabi na each member has their own contributions, each member has single output na pagsasama-samahin, itatali para makabuo ng final judgment or final decision. For example, sa mga competitions, singing competition, talent shows, di ba merong mga set of judges na mag-score dun sa bawat performance ng bawat kalahok or contestant. And then after all the performances, itatali yung mga binigay na scores ng mga judges. And para maging fair, syempre kailangan itali kasi may kanya-kanya silang taste or perspective dun sa kung ano yung gusto nilang, kung ano yung nagustuhan nilang performance. And then, ayun nga, para maging fair, magkakaroon ng final scoring. And then, para ma-determine na rin kung sino talaga yung pinaka nag-stand out sa buong competition na yun. The group usually performs better than an average single member, leveraging collective knowledge. However, performance may still fall short of the contribution of the most skilled or knowledgeable individual. Sinasabi naman na yung kabuoang effort daw ng isang grupo ay mas effective compared dun sa single effort or single output lang ng isang individual or isang group member. Pero yeah, it doesn't mean na matutumbasan daw ng full performance ng isang group yung single performance ng member na pinakamagaling, pinaka-skilled, or pinakamatalino. Disjunctive tasks. Tasks in which the group must select the best solution from multiple possible answers or approaches. The performance depends on the group's ability to identify and adopt the input of its most capable or informed member. Effective communication and the ability to persuade others are crucial. So this refers on how the group will come up with an absolute answer or solution. Nakadepende daw yung performance yung kabuuang performance ng isang grupo kung paano nila ma-identify or paano nila pipiliin kung ano yung pinakatamang sagot sa mga ideas na sinishare or binabato ng bawat group member. And then syempre hindi naman mawawala sa isang grupo yung sabihin natin pinakamatalino. Alam niya, certain siya dun sa appropriate na sagot or solution dun sa problem or dun sa kung ano mang kinakaharap ng grupo. And crucial yun na kailangan magaling mag-persuade or mag-convince yung group member na yun. Syempre, paano niya paniniwalain yung other members na ito yung talagang dapat na sagot dyan, ito yung kuhanin natin kasi alam kong tama to, confident ako na tama to. Magkakaroon ng challenge or magkakaroon ng challenge kapag yung member na yun ay hindi magaling mag-convince or mahina yung persuasion skills niya. Matatabunan siya nung matatabunan siya nung most influential member ng grupo. Magaling mag-convince, magaling mag-persuade, pero mali naman yung idea na sinishare niya. So, mami-mislead yung buong team. Potential for groupthink if dissenting opinions are ignored. If the group identifies the right solution, it outperforms individual efforts. So, syempre, nag-brainstorm yung buong team, maraming ideas yung na-share. So, syempre, mas better yon kesa compared dun sa single effort lang ng isang individual or isang member. Conjunctive tasks. Tasks that require every member to complete their part for the group to succeed. The overall performance is dependent on the weakest link. Team members are interdependent, and success is contingent on each person meeting the task requirements. Suitable for tasks involving coordination, precision, or synchronized action. Performance is constrained by the slowest or skilled participant. So, dito naman, sinasabi na, of course, lahat pa rin ng group members ay may contributions, kanya-kanyang contributions. Kailangan magampanan ng bawat member yung kanilang participation in order for the group to achieve its goal. And dito naman sinasabi na yung overall performance daw ng buong grupo ay nakasalalay dun sa weakest link or let's say less capable team member nila or group member. For example, sa relay race, so, di ba kailangan lahat doon competitive, lahat kayo doon gustong manalo dapat. Pero paano kung meron kayong isang team member na hikain, mabagal tumakbo, lampa, sabihin natin lampa, siya yung pinaka liability ng buong grupo. So, ayun, siya yung parang magiging hindrance sa success ng buong grupo. Strategies to improve performance, encouraging group support to help less capable members. So, yung weakest link natin na member, syempre, siguro, aware na rin siya doon. And, ang kailangan na lang natin gawin is to i-boost yung moral niya, no? I-motivate na gawin pa rin yung best niya. Implementing training and development to enhance weaker members' skills. So, ayun, syempre, practice din para ma-improve yung kung ano man yung skills na kailangan para dun sa grupo na yun. Discretionary tasks. Tasks where the group has the flexibility to choose how individual contributions are combined to achieve the final result. The choice of combination strategy plays a significant role in the overall effectiveness. So here, sinasabi na yung bawat miyembro ng isang grupo or ng isang team ay may kalayaan para pumili kung ano yung role or yung task na alam nila sa sarili nila na kaya nila at parang forte nila, ganun. Na akma yung skills na meron sila. For example, dun sa merong poster making, merong isang magaling sa slogan, may isang magaling mag-drawing, merong isang magaling halo ng mga kulay-kulay para sa painting, ganun. Kapag nagawa nila yung mga task, kung saan sila magaling, kung saan fit yung skills nila, for sure mas magiging maganda yung kalalabasan ng project. Pero kung maghahalo-halo sila ng task, mag-iiba-iba sila ng task, yung magaling mag-slogan, pinag-drawing, yung magaling mag-drawing, pinag-slogan, I doubt na magiging okay. I doubt na magiging okay yung overall performance nila or yung overall output nila. Coordination and participation balance are vital to prevent dominant members from overshadowing others or some members from contributing minimally. Groups that actively solicit and synthesize all inputs tend to perform better. So, ayun, mas balance nga naman kapag alam nung bawat member kung saang role sila, kung ano yung skills na babagay sa mga task na meron yung isang grupo. And then may iwasan din yung mga members na bida-bida, yung ako ng mga task or roles kahit hindi naman talaga nila kaya. Process gain in groups. Process gains occur when the group performs better collectively than the sum of its individual efforts. So, mas magiging, dito naman, sinasabi na mas magiging obvious or mas magiging apparent yung improvement ng overall performance kapag yung buong grupo na, yung kabuuan na ng buong grupo. O wala nang, hindi isa lang yung gumagawa, hindi dalawa, tatlo, may kulang, buo na talaga. Effective coordination, ensuring roles are clearly defined and efforts are harmonized to maximize efficiency. So, ayun, kagaya ng sabi ko kanina, kailangan alam nung bawat miyembro ng team kung anong role yung fit doon sa skills nila, kung ano yung forte nila. And then, syempre, mahalaga din yung team chemistry para hindi na magkapaan yung bawat miyembro ng isang grupo. Idea sharing, leveraging the diverse perspectives and experiences of group members fosters innovative thinking and better solutions. So, mahalaga din na yung bawat kasapi ng isang grupo ay magbahagi ng kanilang unique ideas, concept, or experiences para, syempre, para makakatulong kasi yon sa future endeavors ng grupo, makabuo ng mas creative and mas effective na answer or solution. Motivational boost, the social aspect of working in a group can increase members' commitment and enthusiasm, leading to better performance. So, syempre, kapag alam natin na hindi tayo mag-isang tumatrabaho, alam natin na may katulong tayo, mas magiging magaan yung load. Syempre, mas ma-motivate tayo, mas mag-enjoy tayo, so gaganahan tayong mag-perform or magtrabaho. Enhanced creativity in solving problems that require multiple viewpoints, superior decision making when diverse ideas are integrated thoughtfully. So, syempre, yung mas better nga naman, mas mahusay yung, mas magiging maganda yung magiging maganda yung resulta ng discussion ng isang grupo kasi mas maraming na-i-share, maraming mga knowledge na na-i-share. Syempre i-integrate lahat 'yon para makabuo ng mas efficient na idea or concept. Groups need to be cohesive with strong communication skills. How the group will work harmoniously. Syempre, with strong communication skills, comfortable na yung bawat isa dun sa members nila. Alam na nila kung kilala nila yung member nila, no? Mas magiging effective daw yung isang grupo kapag gano'n. Leaders or facilitators should encourage equal participation and constructive feedback. So, ayun, yung leaders kailangan i-encourage nila or i-persuade nila yung team members nila na gawin yung best dun sa role na inassign para sa kanila.
Group creativity involves evaluating different options and coming up with new and innovative ideas. This is a broad term encompassing any situation where a group works together to generate new ideas or solve problems creatively. Ito yung outcome ng generation ng innovative solutions or ideas ng isang group. Brainstorming is a structured technique designed to boost creativity within groups. Ito yung specific na technique or method na ginagamit to foster group creativity. Merong 4 na key rules of brainstorming. First, be expressive, postpone evaluation, seek quantity, and piggyback ideas. Be expressive. Share any idea regardless of how unconventional it may seem. Okay, let's give an example scenario. Let's say a team is brainstorming ideas for a new marketing campaign for a coffee shop. One person might suggest a campaign featuring a talking coffee bean. Another person might also suggest a campaign involving a flash mob in a park. No idea is too silly at this point. Postpone evaluation. Avoid judging or criticizing ideas during the brainstorming session. No one criticizes the idea of a talking coffee bean. All ideas are written down. Seek quantity. The aim is to generate a large number of ideas. Kapag mas mataas yung volume ng ideas, mas nag-i-increase yung likelihood of finding truly excellent solutions. For example, the team aims to generate at least 20 different campaign ideas. Next is piggyback ideas. Build upon and adapt the ideas suggested by others. One person suggests a campaign using social media influencers. This is an example. So another person also suggests a specific influencer who aligns with the coffee shop's brand. Research indicates that brainstorming groups might not be as effective as individuals working alone. Brainstorming groups produce fewer ideas compared to the combined ideas from an equivalent number of individuals working independently. While groups produce fewer ideas overall, yung ideas na na-generate individually are often considered na mas creative and mas higher yung quality. This suggests that the individual brainstorming process may lead to more innovative and refined concepts. Challenges in brainstorming groups. Production blocking. Group members have to wait for their turn to share ideas. This waiting period can lead to lost ideas, distractions, forgotten thoughts, or a decrease in motivation to participate. The flow of ideas is interrupted. For example, imagine sa isang brainstorming session kung saan yung isang person is merong brilliant idea, pero na-interrupt siya ng lengthy explanation ng isang tao na less relevant yung idea. By the time the first person gets back to their thought, they might have forgotten it or lost the momentum to share it. Evaluation apprehension. The fear of negative judgment can suppress creativity, especially when authority figures are present. Individuals may hesitate to share unconventional or risky ideas for fear of criticism. For example, sa isang meeting with senior management, yung mga team members, pwede silang maging hesitant to suggest new approaches dahil sa fear na baka ma-criticize sila yung mga ideas nila kahit na yung mga ideas naman nila ay relevant. Social matching effect. High-performing members may reduce their effort to match the group's average output. For example, sa isang team na kung saan halos lahat or karamihan ng mga members ay nagko-contribute lang minimally. So, a high-achieving individual might also reduce their effort, thinking na bakit pa magbabother to put in extra work kung wala namang gumagawa nun. This leads to a lower overall output than the team could potentially achieve. Studies show that unstructured brainstorming in face-to-face groups often yields poor results due to production blocking and social loafing. Let's dive into Alex Osborne's recommendations for conducting more effective brainstorming sessions. First, strict adherence to rules. Participants should be trained in basic brainstorming principles, and any deviations from these rules should be corrected immediately. Example, yung isang facilitator, ina-ensure niya that yung judgment of ideas is delayed until a later stage, which means uunahin muna yung pagsasuggest ng lahat, yung collection of ideas, bago mapunta dun sa judgment of ideas. Focus on all ideas. Pay attention to everyone's suggestions, as individuals often focus primarily on their own ideas. Dito, pwede gumamit ng whiteboard para ma-record yung lahat ng ideas. Na-ensure nito na kahit na yung mga quiet participants, mafe-feel nila na yung contributions nila are valued and considered. Individual and group approaches. Combine individual idea generation, like brainwriting, where ideas are written down and passed around, with group sessions. This hybrid approach can leverage the strength of both individual and collaborative idea generation. Example, the team first spends time individually generating ideas. Then, after ng pag-generate ng ideas individually, i-discuss nila yung mga ideas na yun together. Facilitate the session. A facilitator actively manages the session, ensuring na lahat ay magkakaroon ng chance para magsalita. And ipe-prevent na hindi ma-dominate ng kahit sinong single person yung conversation. Yung role ng isang skilled facilitator dito is napaka-importante for successful brainstorming session. May mga responsibilities sila na ginagampanan tulad ng pag-motivate ng mga participants, pag-correct ng mistakes, and pag-reinforce ng rules. Technology's role. Computer-mediated communication tools can minimize production blocking and social matching, leading to improved brainstorming outcomes. Dito, ginagamit yung mga online platforms para sa mga asynchronous participation and para ma-reduce na rin yung pressure ng real-time interaction. Alternatives to brainstorming. First, electronic brainstorming or EBS. This uses online discussions to generate ideas asynchronously, reducing dominance issues where some individuals might control the conversation. Let me give you an example where this is used. A team working across different time zones uses an online forum to brainstorm ideas for a new product. Each member can contribute at their convenience, reducing scheduling conflicts. Second, nominal group technique, or NGT. This combines individual idea generation with group ranking to ensure everyone contributes and ideas are objectively evaluated. Nag-i-start to with individual idea generation. May minimize yung influence ng mga dominant personalities. And then after that, nagsasama-sama yung group for a structured evaluation and ranking of ideas. Delphi technique. This relies on repeated surveys and questionnaires, eliminating face-to-face discussions and allowing for geographically dispersed participation. Useful to para sa pag-gather ng input from experts. na na pwedeng hindi ma-meet in person yung mga hindi available. Buzz groups and bug list. These are less formal methods involving smaller group discussions and focused problem solving. Mas informal and less structured yung approach na to, suitable for smaller groups or specific problem areas. Specialized techniques. Specialized techniques such as using analogies and metaphors and TRIZ. This can be used for more complex problem-solving situations. So, ano ba yung TRIZ? Isa siyang Russian methodology for creative problem-solving. It means theory of inventive problem-solving. Unlike brainstorming, which relies on spontaneous idea generation, yung TRIZ, nagpo-provide siya ng structured set of tools and techniques para ma-analyze yung problems, ma-identify yung mga patterns, and makapag-generate ng solutions. It's not random, it's methodical.